In the end, I ended up living a shameless life with Shokar. When I'm stressed, she helps me relax. When I'm hungry, she cooks for me. The beautiful doctor has turned into a gentle and caring little wife. When we are at home enjoying the happiness of being together, the neighborhood was filled with the sounds of various arguments. We were promised food for our labor, but we haven't even seen a shadow of it. It was clear that in some buildings, the food distribution had already been embezzled by a small group of people. At this moment, King Qiang pushed aside the underling from the wolf gang and rushed forward to get the food. He tore open the food bag directly and finally found a pack of red cigarettes. Wang Qiang was overjoyed, as if he had found a treasure. Holding the pack of cigarettes in disbelief, Zhang Yu really kept his word. He actually got me a pack of cigarettes. The underling, emboldened, asked the boss for a piece of the rare item, saying, "We haven't had a fix in a month. Not having it is worse than being killed." Wang Qiang frowned immediately, thinking, "This won't do. If everyone smokes one, I'll waste half my pack of cigarettes." But when he saw the bloodshot and terrified eyes of his men, he was also shocked. After some thought, Wang Qiang reluctantly gave underling a cigarette each. As he handed out the cigarettes, his hands were shaking and he felt like he was bleeding inside. However, he still said, "I had to force Zhang Yi to bring these for me at great cost. You are all my good brothers, so we should enjoy good times together and support each other in difficult times. Remember, we need to work hard from now on." The underlings didn't pay attention to Wang Qiang's nonsense. Everyone started to choke up and swallow hard. Perhaps only seasoned smokers can truly understand how happy they feel in this moment. It's like when a widow meets a strong young man after 10 years of solitude. Next, Wang Qiang picked up the food and said, "Let's distribute the food now." The underlings didn't hesitate at all and immediately began to wolf down their portions. Wang Qiang, however, stood by and watched, hesitating to eat. He looked at everyone and saw nothing unusual. So Wang Qiang proceeded to put the food in his mouth, thinking that Zhang Yi was really trustworthy and did not poison the food. It seems not bad to continue living this way, eating and smoking every day. At the same time, some ordinary residents are still eagerly waiting for food to aid, naively thinking that food should be accessible to everyone. They believe that everyone can continue to survive. "Honey, as long as we work hard, everything will be fine. Once we get through this snowstorm, I want to have 3 kids with you, one who looks like you, one who looks like me, and one who looks like Jack. This evening is destined to be very long." The floor leaders and their cronies have eaten up the limited 10-person portion of food, while ordinary residents are holding their stomachs and sleeping difficultly in their happy dreams. The next morning, there was a lot of noise outside. Many people started working early in the morning. I'm heading out to look for food, but before I leave, I remind Uncle Yu to be careful. Many people didn't get food last night. They must be really upset, so be extra careful today. After saying that, I hop on my motorcycle and head out. By the time I got back to the neighborhood, it was already getting dark. I notified them as usual to come and collect the food. It's still the same people coming to collect, except for Li Jian. I guess the other building managers and even distributed the food to regular residents. That night, some residents completely lost their minds, and the neighborhood suddenly became lively. Screams and cries are coming from different apartment buildings, and I even saw someone being thrown down from a high-rise building. And I just finished shooting all the bullets inside me with Shokaran. After that, I sang while filling all the rifle magazines. It's going to be a big melee tonight, so I need to be prepared. At this moment, all the neighbors who didn't get any food have gone crazy. Their shouting in anger and despair can be heard from all the units. The building managers have just realized how powerful these ordinary people can be when fighting for their lives. Despite not having fortresses and weapons like me, it seems like many people have been pushed off the high-rise buildings alive. The next day, I was getting ready to go out as usual to find supplies, but as soon as I stepped out of the building, I couldn't help but gasp in shock at the scene before me. In the middle of the neighborhood, there are bodies lying everywhere, appearing to have been forced to jump from a high place. Some are curled up, probably not killed by the fall, but frenzied to death in the snow after being seriously injured. I looked around at the surrounding buildings and saw that many windowsills were stained with blood. It's easy to imagine how fierce and brutal the battle was last night. The neighbors in Building 25 are all so grateful. If they hadn't followed my lead, they would probably all have met a fatal end. Uncle Yu leaned in and asked, "Do we still need to shovel snow today?" I glanced at Uncle Yu and the neighbor behind him and casually said, "If you want to get some food, you have to work, unless you want to end up like them." Everyone was shocked for a moment, realizing how much more fortunate they were compared to the dead. At least now, they didn't have to fight for food with their lives. Just clearing snow was a small task for them. So everyone picked up their tools and started shoveling snow vigorously. No one seems to have come out to plow the snow in the other blocks this morning, and Uncle Yu said he wanted to go and notify them. I gave him a slight glance, and I believe they had a fierce battle all night last night. They probably don't have much energy left now. Last night was just the beginning. The conflict between the ordinary residents and the building manager is only going to get worse if they don't come up with a solution to the food distribution problem. It's going to turn into a life and death battle. It was just one night, so they wouldn't have determined the winner so quickly. Uncle, you look dumbfounded. What should we do next? I hop on the snowmobile and let's not do anything. Let them keep fighting each other. Another day passed. That evening, I issued a warning in the group chat, saying that if I didn't see the results of your work again, I couldn't guarantee the normal supply of food and cigarettes for all the buildings. Sure enough, the next day, when I went out, I saw everyone collectively working outside, but looking at the number of people, it was almost half the size compared to when we started. Uncle, you can't understand why these people don't rebel. When they know there's only enough food for 10 out of every building, they should be standing up for themselves instead of just going along with it. I gave a wry smile and patted Uncle Yu on the shoulder. They still have other options. They haven't reached the brink of death yet. Maybe they have already accepted their fate and this is just an release. No one can explain what human nature is all about. I couldn't help but approach Li Jian at this moment and ask, I'm really curious how you managed to do it. Right now, I only provide 10 servings of food for each building, and the other units have already engaged in fierce battles to grab the food. Did you hide something from your neighbors? Upon hearing this, Li Jian showed a hint of pride. I have been completely open with my neighbors. On the first day, I informed everyone about the negotiation plan. We have already become a community of destiny, but you all know that the food for only 10 people is not enough for all of you to survive. Why don't they revolt? Li Jian seems to have anticipated this issue already. He calmly said, none of us wants to turn into beasts. We have all agreed to divide the food equally, no matter how much there is. I sneered and sarcastically said, you clever bunch. In the end, you'll all just end up dead. No one will survive. Li Jian fell into contemplation, deeply aware that what I said is right. After all, in harsh environments, animality seems to be more suitable for survival than humanity. I was about to turn around and leave, as I was merely curious about the matter. I have zero interest in the life or death of these people. At this moment, Li Jian suddenly caught up and said, Zhang Yi, can you help us? We don't want to die. I directly refused him, without any room for negotiation. But as I left, I coldly turned back and said, you do have strong leadership skills, but you don't have the ability to protect everyone. If you choose to abandon the weaker ones and only protect a select few who have better chances of survival, it might not be difficult to thrive in this doomsday scenario. However, the path you've chosen is your own, and there will be no turning back. Chen Lingyu also came over at this time. If the situation in the community continues like this, it will definitely collapse sooner or later after internal conflicts escalate. Even if you bring back more food, more people will definitely die. Isn't this the result I wanted to see? So, what do you want to say? Chen Lingyu continued, I can manage the community with a scientific approach. As long as this approach is feasible, it can even be expanded continuously. With the current chaos and collapse of order in the world, we could even establish a kingdom in the future. With you as our king, we can assist you in your rule. What do you think? Upon hearing that, I almost burst out laughing. I am just a college student from an industrial university, not easily fooled by a junior high student involved in pyramid schemes. I am not interested. Your tactics won't work on me. Chen Lingyu said bleakly. If we continue like this, we will all die. I gave Chen Lingyu a swift, over-the-shoulder throw and said, it's you who will die. Then, without looking back, I walked away with confidence. I just ran into Wang Qiang and Huang Tianfang, and they were even happier to see me than seeing their own fathers. Zhang Yi, you've worked so hard. Your contribution is the greatest right now. Unlike those useless ones who only know how to shovel snow, when you go out today, don't forget to bring us cigarettes. I put my arms around their shoulders. It's just something I should do. If you have any needs, feel free to ask and I'll do my best. Little do they know, the Grim Reaper's scythe is already coming for them. I am planning to poison everyone in the entire neighborhood. I went to the veterinary store to get a box of rat poison, then went to the supermarket to buy a lot of food. I wore a gas mask and evenly sprinkled the rat poison on the food surface. I worked meticulously for 2.5 hours and finally finished making a batch of custom-made food. Yesterday, as usual, I was distributing food to my neighbors when the building manager approached me and asked if I could bring some cigarettes for everyone. Like Wang Qiang and Huang Tianfang, the other floor leaders also joined in and agreed one after another. We're all working hard, so we can't treat anyone unfairly. Seeing their angry expressions, I helplessly waved my hand and said, I'll try my best. A group of non-smoking tenants got anxious and started making their requests. Some asked for alcohol, some for snacks, and I agreed to all of them. It was hard to send them away, but the neighbors were really upset. They think we've been too kind, and they're taking advantage. Can you swallow your pride? Zhang Yi, I turned around and headed to the safe house directly. Their request was reasonable, and besides, they were all following my orders. When this was said, the neighbors were not happy. We work hard just to make ends meet, so why do those building managers live so well? Everyone was staring at me, like I was a stranger, the ruthless person who used to act alone and make decisive decisions. Why did he give in to their demands so weakly today? I came back to the house and thought about it. It's time to wrap things up. They've been bickering among themselves for almost half the time, and it probably won't escalate into a big conflict in the short term. Now is a good time to make a move. Let's settle things tomorrow. The next day, I found the food and sprinkled rat poison all over it. I even brought some good wine and mixed it with the medicine. It's crucial to finish them all at once. Afterward, I smoked a cigarette and pondered. Everything seemed to smooth, almost exactly as I had expected. Their remarkable cooperation gives me an unreal feeling. I know that people's false harmony is probably only temporary. Those guys choose to remain silent, as if they are waiting for some opportunity. The mole in Building 25 still hasn't been found. I need to stay alert, but it doesn't matter. As long as my weapons and safe house are secure, they can't touch me. Whatever schemes they have, it will all be futile in the face of absolute strength. I quickly returned to the neighborhood and asked Uncle Yu and others to maintain order. Then I notified the building leaders to come and collect supplies. I saw a glint of smile in the eyes of these people who came to collect food. The plan is about to succeed. This will be their last dinner, as this batch of specially made food is laced with rat poison. At first, I used to throw the supplies 3 meters away and let the representatives of each building pick them up themselves. When it came to delivering to Building 21, Wan Chang started approaching me to talk about it. I ignored him and crouched down to pick up the bag of food from the ground. Just as I was about to get up, I heard a loud shout from behind me. "Everyone, get him!" And I saw Wan Chang suddenly pull out a handgun from his pocket. I saw his pupils suddenly shrink. Before I could react, Wan Chang fired 3 shots in quick succession, and the sound of the gunfire echoed right next to my ear. The sudden attack made me feel like the interval between the 3 shots was so long. When I came to my senses, I realized that all the bullets had been blocked by Mr. Yu standing beside me. I hugged Uncle Yu and suddenly felt a chilling sensation behind me. At the same time, the neighbors also betrayed us. I hid behind the snowmobile and pulled out a submachine gun from another dimension, then started shooting indiscriminately at the crowd. I kept pulling the trigger and didn't have time to figure out who was after me. They all had to die. Everyone couldn't believe how Johnny managed to conjure up a submachine gun out of thin air. Their original plan was to restrain me, even if I did pull out a handgun. Considering the number of people present, my marksmanship is so accurate that I rarely miss a shot. When I run out of bullets in my magazine, I just discard my submachine gun and quickly draw 2 police pistols from my waist. At this point, I was so furious that I had blood in my eyes. In just a few seconds, almost everyone at the scene died. They couldn't run fast enough in the deep snow. The remaining few scrambled to their feet in the snow, faces filled with terror and pleading. Huan Tianfang, trembling, raised his hand and assured me, "I swear, I didn't participate in their actions. As I recall, when they were trying to harm me just now, Huan Ti's group didn't take any action. But so what? I will pull the trigger directly, and all of you will die." Finally, I aimed the gun at the last surviving person, Chen Lingyu, who was already terrified and collapsed on the ground. I have nothing to do with this matter. I have a young daughter studying abroad, and I want to stay alive to see her return. I gave her a cold stare for 2 seconds, then I shot her and sent her away. At this moment, the white snow is stained red with a lot of blood, and there are hundreds of bodies lying around in all directions. In this frowning post-apocalyptic world, it's the first time I've killed so many people. Most of them are innocent, but it doesn't matter anymore. I won't allow those who want to harm me to live. Just then, Uncle Yu seemed to let out a moan. I quickly walked over to check his pulse and found that he was not dead yet. I immediately took out an epinephrine shot and injected it into Uncle Yu's chest. Then, I called a few underlings over to help carry Uncle Yu inside. At this moment, Ziliting suddenly appeared beside me. "Brother Yu, what's wrong? You can't die," she cried, holding her child, tears streaming down her face like raindrops on pear blossoms. "If something happens to you, how will my child and I survive?" Ziliting intentionally moved closer to me and began her tearful performance. "Brother Yu, please open your eyes and look at me. It's Liting. Didn't you promise to marry me? Didn't you say you wanted to see our baby grow up to 18? When the apocalypse ends, aren't we supposed to live happily together as a family of 3? What kind of abilities are you showing off? Helping someone to block a gun might make you look loyal, but can you be accountable to us orphans and widows?" As I listened, I got goosebumps. I knew deep down that this woman was not just crying on the surface, but actually telling me to take responsibility for her and help Mr. Yu take care of her and their child. At this moment, Ziliting moved even closer. "Brother Zhang Yi, my husband will be all right, won't he?" she asked. I looked at her with utter disdain. This scheming woman is truly disgusting. She actually changed her tune to call him her husband now. "I will do my best to treat Uncle Yu." With Shokar around, there might still be hope for Uncle Yu. Shirley Tan cried louder. Then she reached out and handed the baby over. "If my husband dies, I don't want to live either. But could you please help take care of my child?" I looked at Uncle Yu with a complicated expression. "Uncle Yu isn't dead yet, and you're already in a hurry to arrange his funeral." Ziliting was instantly speechless. and could only continue to cry awkwardly while holding her child. Escalating followed along to the 24th floor. I prepared to send her away. I need to perform surgery on Uncle Yu with Jokar now. You can't help here, so you should go back. Escalating thought to herself. This is the meal ticket I've carefully chosen. Now that he has taken a bullet for you, you must take full responsibility for my child and me. As the thought struck her, Escalating knelt before Uncle Yu and grasped his hand tightly. No, he needs my company the most right now. I must stay by his side. At that moment, I saw Uncle Yu's pained expression seem to ease a bit. I really wanted to shoot Escalating directly, but out of respect for Uncle Yu, I couldn't do it. Saving the person is the priority now. So I had to reach out and open the door. As soon as the door opened, it was as if Escalating had opened the door to a fairyland. In the Francine apocalypse for over 30 days, if it weren't for Uncle Yu warming them with his body every night, the mother and daughter would have Francine to death long ago. Escalating was intoxicated by the familiar yet strange warmth, while Jokar and I struggled to carry Uncle Yu. Lost in her own world, Escalating unconsciously walked into the kitchen, picked up my personal water cup, and gulped down the hot water. After drinking, she turned around with a satisfied look and asked, "Do you have any baby formula?" Hearing this, I instantly felt the urge to grab my submachine gun and shoot her on the spot, but realizing that her feelings for Mr. Yu might still be helpful, I suppressed my anger and said, "Come and help, or else just leave." Feeling guilty, Escalating said, "I'm just worried about the child." With that, she and Jokar lifted Uncle Yu together. I went to the study and directly retrieved a folding bed from my alternate space. At the same time, I also took out a considerable amount of medical supplies. This scene left Escalating dumbfounded. "Are you performing some kind of magic?" she asked in astonishment. I told Jokaran to do whatever it takes to save Uncle Yu. If you need any medical equipment or medication, let me know as soon as possible, and I will try my best to get them. Jokar also kept her cool in the face of danger, immediately getting busy with what she needed to do and calmly telling me what she needed. After a brief examination, Jokar discovered that the situation is not looking good. The bullet is likely to have hit internal organs, making the chances of survival very slim given the current circumstances. At this moment, Escalating began her performance again, bursting into tears. "Oh, my dear husband, how could you be so heartless to leave us behind?" she wailed. "I've got goosebumps all over. Shut up and stop disturbing the surgery. If anything happens to Uncle Yao, I'll be the first to take you down." Upon hearing this, Escalating abruptly stopped crying, and then she pretended to be weak and insincerely said, "Well, maybe I'll wait for you outside. I can't help with treating or saving people anyway, so staying here would just be a nuisance." But at this moment, all she could think about was how she couldn't wait to leave this bloody room and go to the living room to eat snacks, sit by the fireplace, and drink hot water, surrounded by all the food. I walked up to Escalating, stared at her intently, and said slowly and firmly, "You stay here and behave. You can help Car by wiping sweat and handing over tools. This concerns your husband's life, even if you don't know how to do anything. Just standing here can encourage Uncle Yu." I sternly ordered, "Don't try any tricks. I'm going out to deal with those damn guys. You better behave and take care of Uncle Yu here." I quickly went to the living room and took out various weapons, loading all the guns with bullets. I went to the 4th floor lobby to gather all the remaining underlings. Everyone was extremely terrified, and we had no idea about their actions. "Those traitors who attacked you have nothing to do with us. We are all the most loyal." I raised my hand to signal everyone to be quiet. "Those who betray me, I will make sure they pay the price. Tonight I'm going to launch a counterattack. I want to make it clear to them once and for all that I, Zhang Yi, am not to be messed with." All the neighbors suddenly looked at each other. Now we'd only have 20 people left in our building. To put it bluntly, the people in their building could easily kill us by throwing a stone at each of us. "I'll take care of the guys inside the building. You guys stay downstairs and watch out. If anyone jumps down, you're responsible for handling it. Just keep an eye on the oil drum and tools over there." Just now, it was Wang Qian who fired the first shot. "Today, I'm going to exterminate the people in Building 21 to avenge my hatred. I command the remaining 5 neighbors to surround Building 21. The neighbors don't understand the meaning of this loose surround." The wolf gang was terrified when they saw me just now. I took out hundreds of them, and some of their underlings turned pale with fear. A blond man even started crying in panic, holding his head in his hands as if he's losing his mind. The second toe in command of the wolf gang, Xiao Lu, slapped underling twice and said, "What are you scared of? This is our territory. Even if he has a gun, we should stand up to him with courage." They were waiting for me to come upstairs and fight him, but I told the neighbors to watch the windows and shoot anyone who jumped out. Later, I walked straight to the entrance on the 4th floor of Building 21. Seeing no one around, I quickly took out wood from from a different dimension, along with a bunch of cheap synthetic clothes. Finally, I poured gasoline from a fuel can onto all the materials. The members of the anti-wolf gang were in position, but they were waiting for me to come upstairs. After setting up the fuel, I used gasoline to create a long fuse. It's freezing cold today, but I will warm you up. I lit the fuse with a lighter, then walked away casually. Soon, synthetic clothes and burning wood sent up a thick black smoke, engulfing the entire building like a dark dragon. That despicable Johnny actually set fire downstairs in this cold weather. All the windows in the building are shut tight, and with ice and snow sealing them off, there's no way for people to open them for ventilation. The whole building feels like a big oven, and there are ducks inside the oven. I stand outside the building holding a rifle, looking at this beautiful scenery. It reminds me of a bonfire party in college, where classmates gathered around the fire, singing and dancing to rap. It was truly a nostalgic and happy time. However, tonight's bonfire is more intense and unrestrained than that day. The neighbors finally realized Johnny's true intentions, and now the building has become a death trap. Someone simply smashed the glass and jumped off the high-rise desperately. Who would jump from a dancing floors if not facing the threat of death? Some people who jumped from lower floors didn't die, but before they could even be relieved, they were suddenly stabbed to death by a woman with a knife waiting nearby. After all, Johnny promised that these people were all able to earn rations with their military achievements. Both male neighbors behind her were stunned. The delicate woman, who was too afraid to even slaughter a chicken, turned out to be so brutal when she started fighting. At that moment, the seemingly fragile female neighbor went on a rampage and quickly took down 5 people. The other neighbors nearby were left in shock. I really didn't expect it. Leon used to be afraid of killing even a fish, but now he is so skilled when he gets into action. Leon smiled and wiped the blood off his face. We women have 7 days of bleeding every month and won't die, so don't underestimate me. Then there was a loud bang, and another person fell from upstairs. In an instant, Leon took a quick step and stabbed straight into the chest. I'm looking at the blazing flames. What a wonderful bonfire. It would be great if we could have more of these rituals in the future. Other units in the building also noticed the commotion here, and they could hear desperate screams from time to time, which filled them with fear. Johnny might not use the same means to deal with us, right? We can't just wait for death. It's better to fight and break out than to passively accept our fate. But he has a submachine gun in his hand, so it's up to him whether he wants to get shot to pieces or roast himself. But they're also thinking that I probably won't go all out against them. After all, they weren't involved in Wan Chan's plan. Instead of going for a direct kill, it's better to pray that I spare them out of kindness. Building 21 burned for exactly 2.5 hours. Then I led the neighbors to Building 26. At this moment, the neighbors in Building 25 have become bloodthirsty, experiencing the thrill of killing for the first time. The feeling of dominating life has sent their adrenaline soaring. Just arrived downstairs of Building 26, and someone upstairs was shouting, "We swear Wan Qian's plan has nothing to do with us, and you killed our leader, Huan Tianfang. You can't keep killing innocent people." Upon hearing that, I laughed out loud. Innocent in this building? Who hasn't had blood on their hands? Furthermore, even if you were good people, it doesn't matter to me. This incident no longer needs to be investigated. As long as you have even a 1 in a million suspicion in my heart, there is only one way to go: a dead end. I didn't waste time with them either. I just set fire to Building 26 to show them who's boss. Some people tried to resist and calm down, but I took care of them with a shotgun. I didn't stop and continued to set fire to 5 apartment buildings. Using the same method, I confirmed that these buildings are where the people who attacked me earlier are living. The 5 buildings were engulfed in flames instantly, lighting up the entire neighborhood. It's too difficult to take out everyone in the neighborhood at once. Let's call it a day. I'm tired too, and I need to check on Uncle Yu's situation. Then I took out a megaphone and loudly warned the survivors. I always try not to harm the innocent when I do things. This time, the person I killed was involved in the attack on me this afternoon. When they heard me saying this, those who were emotionally tense felt as if they had found a lifeline. Even though they know they cannot escape death, at this point, they can only deceive themselves and believe that everything is fine. Like an ostrich burying its head in the sand, pretending there is no danger around, I immediately ordered the team to withdraw, announcing that today's activities were over. However, the neighbors were reluctant to leave and wanted to stay by the fire. The warmth of the flames had them all captivated, and they occasionally threw bodies into the fire as fuel. On the way back, I couldn't help but feel a little curious, watching my 2 trusted subordinates, who used to work under me. After all, I did feed them. Why did they choose to suddenly betray me? I found a cell phone from their arms and opened it to look at their chat history. My expression gradually became more curious. So, you're the mole after all. This is getting interesting.